one that got the most traffic and attention was the Division, the Aussie, the Alien. That worked really well.
2, 1, cutting to Napo.
Welcome to Web Wednesday. We're doing it in the beautiful Unsensible Studios. The lighting is good, the cameras are nice. And I have with me here today Richard Hobbs, the founder and CEO of Brave New Vision. You can check out their website, bnv.me. We're going to talk about fashion. We're going to talk about ownership. And we're going to talk about new experiences online in the Metaverse. So if you're watching, on my blog, and you want to participate in any of the polls or Q&A that we're doing throughout this interview, click through to go to the Vimeo page where you have all the interactivity. Otherwise, just enjoy yourselves on Facebook, where we're also streaming this, and on the webwednesday.asia website. Cool. So, Richard, you and I know each other from the textile days, right?
We do.
You used to run events under the hub.
Yes.
So what made you go from a very tactile world of fashion and textile into this digital realm? Because it's not a natural transition.
I guess it was for me in some ways, because I've always been interested in technology. And I actually investigated doing a version of our trade show purely online and using VR back in 2017.
Okay, pre-COVID.
Pre-everything, yeah. We were going to do something in Shanghai where using VR, we had a team of people, we were talking to HTC to get sponsorship, but it sort of ran up against too many obstacles around trade show organizing companies that didn't quite get the concept of why would you want to do something virtually, because our business is getting people to come to a particular space and spend money on flights and hotels and renting venues, and obviously it was exactly the right thing to happen if we'd done it, because everything trade show had to go virtual by the time we got into 2020.
Yeah, I've just come from an exhibition 2 weeks ago here, where all the trade show people were talking about what the hell are we going to do with the metaverse, and I think the COVID has woken them up to the idea of doing hybrid, whatever.
Absolutely. So I actually started BNV, Brand New Vision, in 2016. And the original idea was to see how we could apply different parts of technology into the traditional fashion supply model. So from design, product creation, validation, and then through to the whole sales, delivery, etc. And we were working on various different ways of integrating APIs between PLM systems, ERP systems, CRM, through to 3PL, all the three-letter acronyms you can possibly think of.
In the traditional retail world.
In the traditional retail world, but basically to try and speed things up and make things more efficient, because the garment industry is wasteful, it's damaging, it's slow, and it's expensive. So that was what we originally started to look at.
So you were looking more at the sourcing side, or the...
A bit of everything. So creating the product in 3D, so validating that before physically making anything at all.
Okay.
So this was the general idea. The light bulb moment came when we realized that actually it was better to not make anything, because what we could do is we could create really beautiful, high definition, high resolution 3D product, which was almost indistinguishable from the real thing. And certainly if it was rendered at a high level and displayed in the right format, people would not know that that wasn't actually a photograph of a physical garment.
But you're talking about 2D here, not talking about...
No, 3D, all in 3D. And then blockchain. So we've been looking at blockchain as a way to validate the supply chain. So ownership of resources. So where did the fabric come from? Which factory made it? How was it delivered? When was it delivered? Putting all that information onto a blockchain to prove the provenance of a product. But actually that became almost impossible to do, because in the garment industry, nobody trusts anybody. That's part of the problem. So unless you've got some degree of trust in that supply chain, it's very difficult. But when you took 3D product with high resolution material physics, so things moved and acted in a realistic way, and then put that on a ledger, a blockchain, to prove exactly how many pieces were made and what they constituted, and basically the metadata of that product, then you had a really solid thing. Because what was happening around that time in the sneaker world particularly, so there was three main companies Stadium Goods, StockX, and Goat.
Okay. I've heard of StockX.
So
They're quite famous, right?
all three of them had raised somewhere between 200 and 300 million US dollars in 2019, early 2020.
But they're trading real goods, right? They're not
so
trading...
they're platforms for physical goods.
Yeah.
So if I had a rare pair of sneakers, and I wanted to sell those, and they could be worth $100, $200, $500, whatever the number might be, I would post them on one of those platforms. You as a consumer would say, I want to buy these, I like the look of these. You would pay to the platform the amount of money that I was asking for. The platform would keep that money. They would tell me to send those sneakers to a particular destination to have it validated, to prove that it really was a genuine article. And if they did that, then it would be shipped on to you, and I would get the money that was owed less the 30% or 28% or whatever it was that they would charge for that service. So basically, these guys had all raised lots of money to build validation centers, warehouses
And
that could receive goods.
You were trading on this.
Well, the marketplaces were already there, but their business was growing so fast, and they needed this proof because there was lots of scams going on. People would try and sell fake product. So by having the physical product delivered and training people to validate it and prove that it was the real thing, that was what they were having to raise money for, to build these facilities. Put it on a blockchain, then you don't need any of that at all. So that was one key part of it. The other thing was smart contracts. So when you look at Ethereum at that time and the concept of a smart contract, which means that the transactions that would take place when people buy or sell or trade or give away, the reward structure can be embedded into that contract, which would completely transform the way the fashion industry had worked. Because
You mean in terms of tiers of...
Exactly. So as a brand owner or as a retailer or as an owner of a business, they take most of the money, right? And down through the chain, there are various people that are involved in creating and delivering and marketing and developing that product. And sometimes the ones that get paid the least are the most creative, because you get young design talent, whether they're interns or freelancers, and they'll do a job because they need the money and they're trying to break in, and they'll do something and they'll create an amazing design and maybe get paid a couple of $100 US. And then after that, whether that company makes 1 million pieces or 0 pieces, all they have.
And they have no ownership.
They have no ownership at all. No.
Okay.
But if they're in part of that smart contract, they are implicitly part of the ownership of the success of that product. So if it does really well, first of all, they will be rewarded based on how the initial sales of that product went, but also, again, the beauty of smart contracts is ongoing royalties for secondary sales. So they will get a percentage of a percentage as long as that product exists and as long as it gets traded.
So you saw this as an opportunity to kind of disenfranchise or
Absolutely.
all these layers of fat that are on top.
Absolutely. It could really change because, and now that's developed into what is commonly now referred to as Web3.
Okay.
Which
Decentralization.
And DAOs and all of the other things that come into play. But for me, that was like, okay, that makes sense.
And you were talking about 2018 when you were starting.
Yeah, 2018, early 2019. I mean, 2018 was when the light bulb came on. We started building out the product in 2019. It was more researching and having a lot of conversations around, what's the right blockchain. Because at that time, we were post 2017, the original sort of ICO boom and crash. So there was all sorts of things going on, but there was a lot of noise, but you have to really dig down. Luckily, 2 of my co-founders had worked in the blockchain world. Okay. So they had experience in both contract development, they understood, so I was able to lean on them a lot. My role was more about bringing the brands and the designers and translating these mechanics and the economics of the traditional fashion industry into this new, I hate the word, but paradigm of what fashion could potentially be in a digital world.
So do you think, the fashion industry is so established, and you've worked in it
for a while.
Are they embracing this, or are they kind of resisting it? Is it like the old days of e-commerce where it's like, no, we can't do that? The luxury crew are like, no, this is all about relationships. This is all about, private access. It's all about VIP treatment. Or do you see, we can talk about this in a moment, but do you see more and more brands really believing this is the way forward, or is it more of a marketing gimmick?
if you'd asked me that question a year ago,
Yeah.
the only people that were really getting it were much younger and were already, beginning to develop some sort of, this is interesting. This is, I need to be in this space. How can I get in there? The bigger brands and the luxury brands were sort of, sit back and watch. And it doesn't make sense because, again, it has to be tactile. It's changed dramatically in the last 6 months. Certainly since the end of last year when Mr. Zuckerberg invented the Metaverse, that sort of opened a lot of people's eyes. And
You've got to thank him for that, right?
Well, yeah, no, I definitely do. I mean, there's a lot of other things.
He's talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But because I'm curious about, because obviously the promise of this kind of decentral idea is that all of these, like you were saying, the designers, right? All the people who weren't empowered before suddenly have a voice. It's a bit like when social media first came along. Suddenly anybody could blog, anybody could tweet, but it gave you an opportunity to have a voice. So are you seeing all of these really talented young, don't have to be young, but undiscovered designers, creative people really having a chance to get out there and create product? Are they coming to the fore, or are they still reliant on these large organizations?
There's a few of the operators in the space. I won't say competitors because there's all sorts of dynamics going on in the sort of digital fashion world. But there are platforms which enable those creatives, those younger designers or startup brands to be able to go into Web3, however you define it. We're focused more on bringing brands and established designers and helping them transition into this space. So they've all got existing
So you're like
businesses.
an agency. I mean, you've got platforms like an agency, because to them it's very new, right?
Yeah.
And even yourself, you've picked up a lot of the terminology, the understanding, right? And do you see it's a journey of bringing them into this and kind of understanding what they can do with it, the opportunities for them? And there's a lot of media, but really, what does it mean?
No, very much so. I mean, it's certainly, and it's evolving every day.
Yeah.
When we started, it was a token, an NFT. I don't like to use the word NFT anymore. I like to just refer to it as a token, which can be one of many different tools. And now we're all talking about the metaverse and we're talking about Web3, and it has evolved quite a lot since we started. The vision was always there, that this combination of digital product, blockchain validation and ownership would eventually lead towards a digital wardrobe, so that we could move around at some point in the future and wear products digitally from brands and designers that we knew from the real world, that we had an affiliation or a connection to for whatever reason. I do think that actually the most successful brands will probably be the ones that are purely digitally native, that started with that.
So they're not going to produce product.
Yeah, why should you?
Yeah. Hard to answer that one.
Well, if you
do you have a digital wardrobe of your own? I've only seen you in black t-shirts.
I know. I live in black for obvious reasons. I have bought some of our products, and I have a bunch of NFTs.
So if you were to simplify what you're doing, because we're kind of the journey there, right? Where is it now, right? Because every company evolves and changes their story and evolves into something. Where is your positioning now, right? You've learned a lot of things along the way.
When we started, I would have said we were building an NFT marketplace for fashion, if you summarized it now.
Yeah.
Today, I would say we are a full-on Web3 company that operates in the fashion sector. So we're not just creating tokens. Tokens are one part of what we do. We create narratives, we create journeys, we create interactions with real-life events. We are building out various metaverse experiences. So we're working with the metaverses that exist or are about to exist, like Decentraland and Sandbox, where we have land and we've done activations and we have access to other opportunities within there. But we're also building our own metaverse, BNV World, which is specifically geared towards fashion, because those metaverses are multi-user, multi-dimensional there.
And legless. Most of them are legless. If you go anywhere near the Zuck version, right? So
those types of things. Yeah, exactly. But there are, there's things like Spatial now, which has Ready Player Me integration. So if you go into Spatial, which previously was literally, the top of the chest, now you can actually integrate your Ready Player Me avatar.
So you said a lot there. It's quite interesting. So that you see yourself more as kind of creating the narrative, the story, the worlds that people want to get involved in. It's not just the garments, the digital representations of hats and things. Actually, maybe we should show some of your goodies?
Yes,
I don't
sure.
want to call them NFTs. You've just told me
Tokens, digital assets, digital
Doesn't
products.
sound sexy enough.
No.
So maybe you can run us through some of the things, because I've seen, obviously in the last, I don't know, what is it, year and a half, you seem to have engaged quite a few different designers, creative people.
Sure.
Maybe we could call some up.
Sure. I think the team will be doing that there. Maybe you can swing that around. I can see what's up there.
Oh, okay, there you go.
If that helps. Yes, so I mean that was one of the first products that we did with a brand called Mishka out of New York, actually out of LA, but Mishka.
And this is a brand,
they're a streetwear.
established.
They're an established streetwear brand.
Okay.
They've been going for 15 plus years, and we wanted to work with them to create their Keep Watch cap, which is this eyeball that you can see there is an iconic item that they do. So what we did was created something that was almost impossible to make in real life, which is this heavily studded version of this, and it's a reinterpretation of their normal cap.
And you used their designers or your own?
The original concept sketch came from them, and then we built it. So that's what we did. The designers would normally give us some feedback, like a tech pack if they're fully skilled up. It could be just a visual, and then we reinterpret that using various different tools.
So you have designers within your team, or they're mostly programming kind of technology people, or you also
we have designers in-house, but we also work with specialist studios and freelancers. So it's, there's horses for courses. There's some, if
you like these guys because they were already established in the offline world, and you
they had
kind of contradicts what you said earlier about going only digital, right?
Well, no, because these guys are actually putting a lot more effort into becoming a digital-focused brand. So they recognize the opportunity. What we did with this, we created this, we sold some, we gifted some, but then what we also did was, if you would have seen it in the video at the beginning, is we created a Decentraland wearable version. So anybody that had this as a token, if they logged into Decentraland, they would find it in their backpack, which is the Decentraland version of the wardrobe, and we're able to drop that.
And in Decentraland, is it kind of the simplified pixelated
It's
version?
a low poly version. Yeah, it doesn't have all the studs on it. You can't read the. I mean, this is the dilemma that we have at the moment. Is there's a level of expectation that the metaverse is high resolution and it's amazing, but it's not. It has to be low poly because there's rendering restrictions, there's bandwidth restrictions, there's processing restrictions.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit that kind of fascinates me, is that if you've played in the gaming world, the visuals are, stunning. I mean, you feel like you disappear into this fantasy. You go into any of these kind of current Decentraland sandbox things, you might as well just be in Minecraft, right?
Yeah,
but
essentially.
without the people.
Yeah.
So it's a strange
The
world.
difference is it's decentralized. It's on a blockchain, and therefore you own the assets that you are. And essentially, I mean, it's still early days in the whole process, but I've got to give credit to Decentraland. What they've got and it's operational is pretty good. You don't get that quality of definition and resolution that we would like to see, but it will come. Yeah. Because there are metaverses that are being built at the moment, and more that will be built, or metaverse experiences, which will be built on the gaming engines, Unreal Engine, for example.
So is that what do you think? Because I know you have a particular opinion about Web3, which we can go to in a moment. But do you think that's what's lacking? It's the engines, it's the access, it's this 5G, 6G, 7G.
It's all the technology elements.
Okay.
There's so many of those things that need to kick in. But the beauty of it is everybody operating this space has a belief and a faith in this, and there are many faith, companies.
Don't you think it's almost? You said earlier it was a religion. I mean, there's a kind of, I do see some slight kind of blind faith going on here. Maybe slightly rumbled by the crypto world at the moment.
Well, the crypto. I mean, obviously there's a
slight
hiccup.
I have to say, there's a slight blind faith.
I would say that there's more understanding of what's possible. And therefore, the people that are engaged in that are not being totally unrealistic. They know that it's going to take time, but they're building the infrastructure, they're building the tools, they're building the connections that will allow, at some point in the future, a fully interoperable multi-metaverse network of experiences.
I think the best thing about the metaverse is aptly named because it just seems to be a universe of lots of little planets at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Some are like Mars, they're just red and not much goes on. Some are trees, some like the moon, they're a bit barren.
Absolutely.
It's quite interesting, that world. But let's look at maybe at another one, because you've obviously evolved this, right? And as you start to engage these brands, I'm always curious to see how these designers when they come to you and you work with them, are they saying, well, who are my audience? Who am I talking to? Are they very fixated on it's about building a brand and I've got to be in Paris, I've got to be in Tokyo? Is it still very traditional, the way that they see that you launch and build a fashion brand?
Whatever we're doing now is still very early, and our target is to onboard the fashion consumer for the future. And there aren't many of them at the moment. So we give people very low expectations. You're not going to sell thousands. This is not what's going to happen. In the future, yes, that will happen. What we did, this particular one here, which we did in collaboration.
Is that a Johnny?
They called it the blunt dress. So basically,
the blunt dress.
Dazed magazine, from London. They worked with Jawara Lane, who's a rapidly rising London-based designer, and he designed this particular outfit, which Rihanna wore in one of their issues in late September, I think it was, last year. So we recreated that in Unreal Engine, animated it with a Rihanna lookalike within that, and then we did that as a charitable drop. So there were a limited number of those pieces. We sold them at a low, miserable price.
What were you selling them at?
I'd have to dig back and remember because it was a while ago now.
But when you say, I'm curious, what are the volumes in these things? You say, you manage expectations.
No,
we're doing hundreds, tens, thousands,
50s. We keep the numbers low.
But you're talking globally, right? Although you're a Hong Kong entity. Well, I don't know if you are. Most people are offshore, but you're some kind of entity.
We're a Hong Kong company. We're a Hong Kong.
But do you have markets that? Is it the traditional fashion places that people are more interested in? Is it New York who's killing it?
Well,
is it somewhere else?
With that particular one that we did with Dazed, it was really because we got access. People had to register with an email and a wallet address to be able to do that. So it was quite interesting that the hotspots were London, New York, and parts of Asia. Those were the real hotspots where we got most of the action.
How do you know where they're from? Because the wallets are surely anonymous.
No, we got them to sign up. We asked them additional questions like,
and they were willing to do that.
They didn't have to, but have you ever bought an NFT before? Blah blah blah. We got that information. So that was quite revealing that it was still, But then it was probably related to where Dazed has its highest visibility.
Yeah.
We did. There's another project that we did, I think, towards the end of with a brand called Division, which is Aussie the Alien. And we did that in collaboration with a brand called Division, who are from Copenhagen, Denmark. And they did their catwalk show at the last Copenhagen Fashion Week in February. And they held it at the Copenhagen Planetarium. And the theme was what would happen if aliens came in. So we worked together with the brand owner. We created this Aussie alien. We built an avatar of him using Unreal Engine. We animated it. Unfortunately, these are just stills, but if you go to the website, you can see
BNV.me, right?
Yeah, BNV.me.
Right.
You can see the animation of that one. And that got picked up. We basically had something like 20,000 page views in 4 or 5 days, I think it was. And we gave away 5, I think it was, to people that visited the catwalk show. So people who were part of that. And then we sold 20 on a whitelist basis. And they went in 90 seconds after we closed the whitelist.
How much do you know about these people that are buying this stuff? Is it the fashionista crew? Is it your mates? Your investors?
We've done.
Who is it? Who's buying this? I bought one of your charity ones, right?
Oh, the Booty.
The Sex Pistols.
The Jamie Reed one. Yeah, that was good. So that was gone towards Ukraine. Yeah. So that was working with this. That was
the reason I bought it.
Thank you. Phoenix Rising is a brand. It came out of the ashes of Surface to Air, which was a big brand from 20 years ago, known for their art and their subversive interpretation of various things. And they've come back as Phoenix Rising. And the idea was to create this hooded body, the booty. And then we got Jamie Reed, iconic, famous for all of the Sex Pistols, Nevermind graphics, God Save the Queen, etc., to donate a piece of
You're
art.
aging yourself there.
I know. I did watch Pistol on a binge over the weekend on Disney Plus, so that was a good experience. But thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
So let's talk a bit about. Actually, maybe we'll do a little poll for those of you. If you're watching this on Facebook or my website, you won't be able to join this poll. Otherwise, you can join it on Vimeo. There's a little link there. right? Let's do the first poll, right?
Yeah, they can vote in the bottom right-hand corner.
Vote in the bottom right hand. Is that how it works? All right, let's do the first poll. Do you own an NFT, any NFTs? I'm just curious, out of the people watching. Yeah? We'll carry on. Okay, we'll find out. Do you own an NFT? I have, like everybody, I've dabbled.
Good.
I've also been ripped off.
Good.
I've been rugged. Is that what the expression is?
Rug pulled. Yeah.
Rug pulled.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, it's quite... So it's interesting, right? Because you're in this space. You call them tokens. Well, I mean, they always get changed names. Right? And it's gone from, crypto, ICOs to crypto to Web3, right? Let's get to that topic in a moment. But do you feel, where there's a certain amount of meaning, to me in some ways, come from a marketing perspective, it's always seen as some kind of loyalty, right? People are always given coupons and tokens and things. Where do you see it's different here? What's the major difference of a token, right? I mean, I've been to fashion shows and I've been given stuff and I've been samples and you get all these things, you're very proud of them, you're taking photographs. But what's the major difference that's going on with the...
Well, I think this is what Web3 can become. So the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is the main differentiator. So, and I use an example, which I've quoted a few times, but if I go into a famous brand name store and buy a product from that store and I wear it, let's say it's a pair of sneakers and I walk out of the store and I'm wearing those sneakers and I'm carrying a bag and I'm going to meet some mates in the pub or wherever it might be, and everybody's going, those are cool sneakers. I'm essentially advertising that brand. I'm doing their promotional work for them. So
but you're feeling good at the same time, right?
I
you're
get a
getting
buzz,
recognition and your
Web
tribe
3,
is going, he's cool, he's one of us.
Exactly. But in Web 3, I could potentially earn from being that advertising billboard, for being that walking billboard. Because if I'm moving around wherever that might be within these metaverse experiences and I'm being seen by, and people are saying, those are cool sneakers, where did you get those? And the information is available, because it can be, because it's all open, because it's on the blockchain and it's visible, I'm potentially a revenue earner on behalf of that brand. That brand could reward me for actually displaying.
But why is that any different to affiliate marketing?
You could say so.
I mean, look at social media. It's swamped with gorgeous people wearing nice things, right?
But
or
it's not
hanging out in nice venues.
But it's not the consumer that's earning. The consumer is giving their data to allow that affiliate marketing to happen.
No, but the people wearing, like your example, you walk into the pub, whatever, that person is showing off these shoes and is, it's like Marlboro doing their product placement, right?
Yep.
In a way. So, and the whole internet has affiliate marketing is very sophisticated, born of Amazon, the idea that you buy something and you promote it, you therefore get a cut of that, right? They have all these mechanisms in place. And why would that be any different from a token or, that what you're talking about in the Web3 world? Because it's a very mature idea of being rewarded.
But it's the individual customer. With affiliate marketing, it's the layers above the consumer that do it. So the consumer is still paying the same amount or a more or lesser amount, and that's being divided up by the rest of the supply chain. Whereas here, I'm presenting, I as the consumer have bought this product. I am now promoting that product because of my journey around the metaverse and my interaction with people. I'm doing your advertising. You can reward me for that. Now, what we're doing is we're actually another part of what we're doing is building the economy for fashion within Web3. So we're creating a coin, an ERC20 coin, which will enable people to be participating in the economy of fashion within Web3.
So that a coin gives them ownership of part of that you call it Fash, right?
Our Fash coin, our Fash token.
FAH.
That's the one.
Great name.
Thank you.
How does that work? Because what I've seen, a lot of these tokens have been used as, and shoot me down if I'm saying this the wrong way.
Not at all.
Is that they're being used as almost like a crowdfunding, right? I've got an idea. I want to launch a business. I want to launch a brand. I'll go and I'll launch these tokens, sometimes in the shape of NFTs, sometimes in the shape of ICOs, and I'll say, right, I'll use that money. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I'll either run away or I'll go, right, I'm going to build a business. I'll
Yep.
try to. So what's the difference in terms?
The difference is we've done it the wrong way round. Or
Okay.
we've done it arse about face, as they might say. So
So it's not fash, it's hash.
Sure. So what's been happening over the last year or so
Yeah.
is with NFT projects, particularly PFP type projects, the
Profile pictures.
profile pictures, so the Bored Apes and everything below, the crypto punks back in the early days. And what most people have done is come up with a concept
Yeah,
and created a massive amount of hype
yeah.
on the basis of writing down a roadmap.
It's called startups.
It's called startup, but there's never any substance.
Yeah.
They haven't built anything yet.
Yeah.
They've got a vision and
Yeah.
they've got a team of people and they may even have money and they could all be there and it could be a valid vision.
Yeah.
But they create the hype first. They get the engagement of a large amount of people and they make some noise.
But that's
and-
what you need to do with crowdfunding, right? The whole crowdfunding
Yes.
concept is get
Correct.
the crowd excited, then build up. Originally, it was
Yep.
build a product. right?
Exactly.
Go to China, have a factory, build you a ring that talks to you or whatever, right?
Yeah. We've done it the wrong way around.
Okay.
We built the product first.
Okay.
We created the platform. We built all of the elements which are relevant to that, including the metaverse experiences, including the plan and the structure to be able to release the coin, and the economics which make it work. Because it's important that there are various projects out there which probably will fail because it's just about giving money back. It's I wouldn't say it's a Ponzi scheme, but it's looks quite close to that if you dig
Yeah,
deep.
you buy it because you want a return
Yep.
quickly.
But what we're doing is creating the circular economy that allows money to go into a treasury and to come out of a treasury,
Yeah.
which rewards all the participants within that. So we bring in new products because we launch the ERC 721, which is the tokens that you see here.
And you're doing it on the Ethernet,
We're on the Ethereum.
on the
Yeah,
Ethereum.
Ethereum.
So because,
It's solid,
yeah,
it's transparent,
yeah,
it's probably going to be the main blockchain of interoperability. If it's not, and there's one to come, it will be connected to it.
But if you're in fashion, isn't it all about sustainability? And there's this whole kind of part of that blockchain world, which is it's about too much gas, right? Too much
Sure.
burning going on. So
Sure, that's not
I've seen
happening at the moment.
I've seen a few projects kind of look at other Tezos or whatever they look at. So
Yep.
is that just hype, or do you think that's
No, no,
obviously
it's a valid
seems to be a
part.
balance between, are there enough people using it? Do they understand how to use it? Do they understand how to use a wallet? And the kind of what's the coolest one out there? Because what I find very frustrating is that nearly every single time you've got to go and set up a new wallet and then with a new chain, you're not having, it's like having 15 credit cards. right?
Exactly. No, I mean, we're very happy to stick with Ethereum, at least
Yeah.
for the time being. We're experimenting with other ones, but we're focused in on Ethereum for the reasons already explained. When you talk about the carbon emissions,
Yeah.
which is what most people look at, and it's more relevant to Bitcoin, or was until this last week, but also it's relevant to Ethereum. If you look at the products that we create, the number of pieces and the interactions that we have, and I've done a number of different calculations, and we have a sustainability statement on our website, and we've talked to a couple of different consultants who are involved in ESG and have given us advice.
Because that's always been the issue with fashion, right? It's the wastage. and
Well,
the-
this is my point.
That's where you get this kind of pre-loved movement that's happened over the last 3 or
Yeah.
4 years of people actually buying garments that have been worn once to some gala, and that's the end of it.
Absolutely. Anything the comparisons we did is if we mint one token and you compare it to the production of a particular piece of product, like whether it be a pair of jeans or a t-shirt or a suit, and the processes that are undertaken to get that produced, fabric, sewing, dyeing, shipping, logistics, warehousing, air freight, all of these things that come into play, it's still substantially more than even a normal
How much?
minting
How
cost.
much?
It's difficult to put. I mean, I can find you a spreadsheet that I put together, but it's
But you know the industry, so I trust
Yeah.
you that you know those numbers.
no. We did
right?
those numbers, and the point is that when Ethereum goes over to proof of stake
Yeah.
from proof of work,
Yeah.
the consumption or the emissions it's forecasted to be maybe as low as 1/10,000th of what it is
Yeah.
currently. So it will be absolutely minimal. And I think the thing, a lot of people say, NFTs, they're destroying the planet. But, well, everything is destroying the planet.
I think it's humans.
Humans everything
destroying
is destroying. So if you take that approach, don't put the aircon on, don't drive a car, don't go anywhere on holiday, literally grow vegetables in your garden and don't go anywhere. I mean, you've got to sort of take it.
Right?
That's why I live in Cyclone.
So let's get back to, the kind of the virtual world part, right? In the Web3 bit, you were talking about what you saw for it, right? There's the identity side, right? That I think seems to be evolving as a really interesting part of where we're going, right? With this whole idea of identity. I mean, we grew up in the UK and our identities were based around bands and magazines and HMV and stuff. So there seems to be a new culture. What I find most fascinating about all of this is the designers and the people popping up are creating a culture. Now, I don't know, are you seeing this culture just kind of staying to itself, or do you see it, is it really representing a new generation? Maybe we're not the right people to talk about this.
We probably shouldn't be.
But anyway, we can comment.
Yep.
So, is this something, do you really see this, like you work in New York and stuff, as a culture that a generation of people identify with, and they say, yeah, that's me, that's who I want to be?
I think there is definitely a generation which have only grown up with digital communications and digital interfaces. So
Instagram, IG,
whatever it might be, so they're fully immersed in this space. So for them, this is, the whole concept of Web3 is just an evolution of that. It's just another level of engagement. And when people really start to understand things like self-sovereign ID, when you actually own your identity and it's secured and you can move around the metaverse and use that to gain access to places without having to go through.
So that's what self-sovereign ID means to you. You think it means, to me, I thought it was kind of bring back ownership to me, right? Because we've lived through the last 15 years where
you just give everything away.
Yeah, you get something in exchange, right? But you don't really realize you're giving it away, right? So you're not aware of it, really. Because I've done events 10, 15 years ago where we talked about data. And, normally an event, 100 people would turn up. When you talk about data, 3 people turn up. The people don't seem that interested in data and their own data,
No,
right?
I think people are being,
kind of battered out of them. But.
Yeah, it's if it's made your life easier, if it allows you to connect with people in a smoother way, they'll give it over. I mean, log in with Google and you're straight into a new app. You don't have to even think about it.
So are you saying that this sovereign kind of ID idea is that your self-sovereign identity is that you're bringing it back to, it belongs to me.
Yeah.
And if you want access to it, you've got to down pay me to have access to it, rather than
potentially, or I will make it available to you at the terms that are relevant to me.
Okay.
Or and even if it's just validating certain things, like it's are you over 21?
Yeah.
You don't need to say, yes, I'm 29 because here's my passport or here's my ID card. It will just say, yes, this person is over 21.
So are you doing that in your kind of diaspora of things that you're doing? Is that part of it? Or
it's definitely one of the things that we're talking about, because what we definitely want to be is a fully interoperable experience that transitions fashion, which is what we're involved in, across the metaverse. So part of that means, how do we make that happen? How do we get these ownership links? How do we get these transitions from one space to another? So it's we're not going to build it.
But are you dabbling in lots of different? You said Decentraland Sandbox. I mean, there's many out there, right? And like anybody, you're exploring, right? You've got a toe in each kind of each one of them. So are you seeing that there's a particular area that people's attention is going, where they see it happening, and you go, okay, this is the one we're going to put our energy into? Or are you saying, no, we better build our own one just in case?
No, we're building our own because I think the long-term metaverses which are being built are going to be a year or more before they're fully functional.
Yeah.
At least. It's substantially.
I've had people say 10, 15, 20.
Well, exactly. I mean, until we've got some degree of interoperability. And like I said before, they're not focused on fashion. We want to do something where we can create experiences for fashion brands, for fashion designers, host events, put exclusive content within there. Have what you would normally do is there's a product launch. Remember Cat Street in Harajuku in the 90s, where people would be queuing at 1:00 in the morning for a shop that opened at 11. In that sort of excitement and the whole drop concept around fashion that existed and span off from there. Those are the sort of things that we're really looking to create within a metaverse.
So you want to have a themed, it's almost like a theme park, right? There's the kind of Disney version theme park, then there's the fashion theme park, right? You go to that world because you're looking for particular experiences, you want to...
Yeah, it's, like I say, if you wanted to go to Double Taps in Harajuku in the early 2000s, you had to be in Tokyo.
Yeah.
You had to go to that space. You could recreate that experience and say, right, we're going to create something and drop it. It's going to be made exclusively available.
Theoretically, anybody can join that. Right?
Exactly.
So you're with the idea of having your own. I mean, I looked at what you were doing with this Fash. It's almost like a membership, right? You buy into it. And it gives you, and I see a few, particularly fashion brands doing this, right? Whether it's the Gucci's or the Balmains or the Adidas, whatever. They're all kind of coming up with this concept. Or Coachella, right? I saw Coachella was selling lifetime membership for $1 million.
Right.
That's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But you get lifetime access to physical things. So is that what you see it? You see it as it's almost like a membership, and then that gives you access to digital stuff. Offline stuff?
Good point, because that brings us on to our Gs, which the people would have seen a video of a pair of wraparound shades. I don't think they're in that link, but essentially
they're in the video, yeah.
There is a Twitter link, which we can put up in a minute if it hasn't already. But essentially what we've created is our social token, which we're calling Gs.
For any reason? Why?
Because the original ones are going to be the OGs, and then there's going to be other Gs. So it came out of a brainstorming session, but we liked it.
I think Fash is better.
Well, they do two different jobs. So the Gs are the membership token. Yeah. So that's the Starbucks loyalty card and the Amex Black. That gets you, if you own one of these, you can get priority access to drops that we might do in the future, maybe even preferential pricing, access to real-life events that could be either done by us or any of the brands that we're working with. But probably most importantly, it will get you an allocation of the Fash coin. So
there's a membership element and there's a financial element, right?
Yeah, the membership is, own this. Yeah. And so the ones we've done are OGs. We did 1,000 of them. Yeah. We sold them for a limited period at 0.5 ETH, and now they're available at 1 ETH. Yeah. The next...
And they're still buying? People are
still buying, yeah. But we're not trying to create hype and pump these things. Yeah. We're doing it on a more sustainable mandate. The next round of those will be 10,000, which we'll be doing in batches, in partnerships with other Web3 communities and projects. These will be free, or they will be free plus gas. So it's a free mint. And I think we're going to do 100 of these. To anybody that signs up after here, there's a tweet which has gone...
Do we have the tweet? We have the tweet.
We have the tweet. Okay, so the tweet's going to...
What do I do with that tweet?
Well, you can reshare it, or if you want to do anything, literally...
I'm not that good at multitasking.
Just reply to it with your wallet address. Okay. And the first 100 will get a G when we distribute those, which will be sometime in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah, it's a new version though. It's a new version of that. So it's
and are people wearing these? Are they putting them on and wandering around?
They're not necessarily designed as a wearable, but we did for the first one. So for the Gs, we did a Decentraland wearable and we did a filter as part of the promotion, which I think you've already tried it on.
Filter.
Yeah. So we with the filters.
Thank you for that. I learned how to use filters.
They're fantastic. So we do filters as AR experiences, but they're more as a promotional and a marketing tool. It gives
you also did some other glasses. You had...
Yep.
I can't remember. What was that?
We did a thing with a gentleman, a brand called Francis Delara, based out of London, who makes super high-end jewelry and eyewear. So the original of those pieces.
It's interesting to do eyewear as well, right? When you first mentioned it, I thought it was all about garments and stuff. But eyewear,
footwear, accessories, anything that goes into a fashion-related sphere, we're doing. And then we've got a couple of other projects which are almost leading into things like homeware. But it's still, because it's coming from a fashion affiliation, it has relevance to what we're trying to do. So they'll be coming along soon.
Do you think that, the big brands are starting, I gave a talk the other day to some cosmetics company, so I started kind of digging around for what's happening with fashion, cosmetics and stuff. But it seems like the people who normally stand on the sidelines are jumping in, Because they see it maybe as a marketing kind of PR,
Yep.
but some of them are doing some quite genuine things, right?
Absolutely.
They're doing, so do you see this as, the brands are coming in and you'll see them kind of overtaking it and just kind of pulling it into like they have with e-commerce, or is this, how will you survive in that world of?
Because we will still be about the open metaverse. So a lot of what people may be doing now is still a digital experience rather than something that's truly blockchain focused and oriented and building out
this. It's kind of virtual world type experience,
Yeah.
like 360 camera type
Yeah,
stuff.
that stuff is part of what we can do, and it's an enhancement, and it adds a little bit of value to the process. But I think, it's these elements that I've just described. Beautiful product with proper utility, and utility for fashion means wearability. So giving people the places that they can go.
Can we just
and the
ask one more question? You made me think about it. Maybe we could do that. We have another poll, which is, having heard what Richard said, would you buy digital fashion? I'm curious to see how many people would buy digital fashion, right? I have, because I know you and I've tried some things out.
Sure.
And I do find it fascinating, because when you walk around these worlds, you see these mad, people are starting to get quite expressive, right? They're starting to have, I don't know, wings or pointed spiky things.
Yep.
So I want to talk a little bit about that kind of human bit of it, because to me, a lot of it is fantasy, right? The reason you go into these worlds is you can be somebody different. Right? You can look very different to what we look like now.
Absolutely.
Right? You can be whatever gender you want to. You can be agender. You can be
Absolutely.
whatever, right? So, do you think this is with fashion? It's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, a lot of people I've known in fashion, so their real personality is so different from what they are when you see them dressed up, and it's almost like a shield to what's inside. So, do you see what's the human aspect of this? Is this just another representation of ourselves in another fantasy world? Because the thing that I got frustrated about when I saw Zuckerberg's Meta and Microsoft, they're just trying to take us as we are now, put us in virtual versions of our offices, sitting in front of desks like these. And you're like, where's the fantasy in that?
Yeah, I think that there's room for that, because we actually have virtual meetings using VR in the office, or with a number of our
You're all
people.
sitting in the office wearing...
No. We're in different locations,
Okay.
but we use Spatial for that one, and so with a.
And how different is Spatial to... I haven't experienced
So
Spatial.
it works quite well.
Yeah.
I would
Is it
definitely.
different to doing it with the Oculus and doing it in
You use an Oculus. It's on Oculus. I have a
Okay.
Meta, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
Oculus 2, but it works. It works. So we have people in Europe, we have people in Hong Kong, and we've experimented with it. And you can also do it.
And do you feel you're with people? Is there a sense
There is
of presence?
there
or
is,
that you're
there-
kind of like, what the hell am I doing here?
There absolutely is, because as people move around the space and move around the room, the sound does change. So you can and you can transpose. So even if you have. So if you've got your headset on, you're seeing people there. They can actually, because they have Ready Player Me integration, they can actually put their own face onto the avatar. So I would definitely, I mean, this is the one thing I will say to anybody that's listening to this who's going, I don't understand, or what's it? Try it out.
I mean, I came
get
to your
a
office
wallet.
and you had a wicked piece of equipment, but it was like, the goggles were like, I don't know, $1,000 US.
They were a lot more.
The hard drive was like, I don't know, it was another $7,000
it's
the other way around.
It's the very top end of the VR world.
So, I mean, but I want to go back to this fantasy thing, because I think, there's what's missing, I see, with a lot of these brands. There's a little bit of kind of branding, but there's no tapping into people's desires to kind of just go off and be somebody different, right?
We say to everybody, you're not restricted here. When we're creating a particular product as a token or as a wearable, you're not restricted by physics, you're not constricted by price, you're not constricted by gravity. You can actually be much more creative than you would be in the real world, because a designer or a brand has these constraints to worry about. Can I sell this? Can I market it?
Yeah.
Obviously high-end and luxury designer brands can be much more creative, because they normally have the budgets and the resources to be able to do that. But anybody can be super creative and be fantastic.
So who would you look up to and say they've really got their finger on the pulse? I mean, in terms of these brands that are being born purely digitally. I mean, I came across a few, but there was it Fractional or something? Or they seem to be organisations like yours, right? There's DressX and other people doing that. But do you see any brands born in that environment that are actually getting a true following, not just a couple of hundred?
No. I mean, probably the biggest example is Artifact, who started off from the gaming world. They started developing sneakers.
Yeah.
And they built an incredible following through really good high resolution visual effects, etc., and and various good marketing techniques until they got bought by Nike. So and they've done
And
some.
what has Nike done with them? Have they done good stuff, or have they
No,
just
no.
gone, we're going to crush these people? That's the end of. Sorry.
No, they've no. I mean, they bought them. I can't speak for exactly how it functions within the Nike organization.
They were a digital-only brand.
They were a digital-only brand. They came out, like I say, they came out of the gaming world. They started doing things with other people in collaboration in the sneaker space. They then went on and did Clone X, which was another project which did really well, which was an individual avatar PFP project. They dropped pods. They did a monolith.
What's a pod?
A pod was they gave everybody that had a token from their network a room.
Okay.
And within that room, you could display the other things that you owned. So it was
And that room resided where?
It was a token. So it was a.
Oh, I see.
So
you could
it's
put
all,
other tokens inside it.
exactly. So they're really clever, good stuff. There.
And what was the Clone X? I don't
Clone
know.
X was an avatar, a 3D avatar thing where everything was randomly generated. They did a few of them with Takashi Murakami, which again developed a bunch of hype. They just recently announced their Crypto Kicks, which is the first Nike project that's going to come out of that. And then on Friday, out of the blue, they announced a collaboration with Byredo, the fragrance firm. So, again...
How does fragrance work in
Who knows? We don't know yet. We're going to have to watch and find out.
Sense of smell is an important sense. It talks about presence and feeling
absolutely.
Other people, right?
So I'm really keen to see how that develops. I mean, it was a surprise. It's something that...
Liam Fung here used to have a kind of sensory thing. You go to these walls and you press these buttons and it spray you.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, I'm amongst the trees.
Yeah.
But it was used in retail, right? I mean, a little bit. I mean, down here in Pedestal, you had, what was that famous brand where it had half-naked guys and you'd walk past it and it stank?
Let's not... you're talking about Abercrombie. Let's not...
Abercrombie, yeah. There was a lot going on with Abercrombie.
Yeah.
So let's imagine, right? Because you're in the industry, right? What is the world going to be like when all these metaverses, planets, worlds are, theme parks are interconnected? Wake up just take me through like a day. You wake up in the morning.
Purely speculative.
At the moment, because part of my theory is that we're actually currently in the metaverse. We all wake up in the morning, and we're first thing phone.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Right,
We're already in that metaverse.
We're already like all of our blood levels, temperature, they're connected, right? So I'm curious, what do you think? Once all these metaverses are interconnected, what will be a day in the life of? Just describe, play with me. Give me some fantasy.
No, because
or scare me. Just tell me.
No, because I don't believe that will happen. I believe that it has to be grounded in reality. I think we are spending much more time, and we have for the last 2 years, in digital spaces because we've been forced to, whether that's been in Zoom or Google Meets or whatever. And that's been proven to be part of life now, and these will be enhanced experiences within that. I still think that it's the concept of Web3, which is going to be more important, about the ownership of your data and the ability to work with your assets.
Absolutely. We haven't even tickled at the surface.
Absolutely. We could talk for hours and hours and hours on this one. But I don't see a situation where everybody just wakes up in the morning and slaps on their headset or their VR glasses and then lives their whole life through that. But I do think there will be a mixed reality. So it will be normal eyewear, which will allow you to see things that might not be truly physical in there, but will give you some sort of added benefit. What I don't want to see it just become like advertising billboards, and it looks, it's got to be something.
It's kind of leaning that way a little bit, right, with the brands. One of the interesting things I've seen is I think the devices are really important, right? One of the interesting things I've seen is Samsung. They're saying, right, let's just make people access. You can imagine a big screen in your room. You could just, at the moment, a lot of it's browser. So going from a browser on your phone, like all gaming, gaming was very niche, and then it went mobile. Suddenly, casual gaming took off, and it went from, the stereotype teenage boy into, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s.
It's grandmas on the MTR doing Candy Crush. Yes, can't get away from it.
So I'm curious. There must be a moment, because it's still so niche, right, where it's going to go, oh my God, I can do this screen in my bedroom or my sitting room. I can just suddenly disappear into this journey, right? So there's a lot of pieces there.
Yeah. I can see. I mean, if you have a VR headset and you just buy a few experiences, or even just go on a 3D browser, it's an amazing experience. It's way better. I mean, the previous times I had to go with it in 4 or 5 years ago, I just came out feeling nauseous.
Yeah.
And do not go on one of the roller coaster rides because you will
feel
feel absolutely nauseous. But the latency has improved, so it doesn't quite give you that feeling. But it's still, when you see that fully immersive experience, that you're in a different environment, you can see that, okay, I could spend more time here,
And you think people will, your business is based on people wanting to change themselves, dress themselves up, or garb themselves so they can be branded, they can be non-branded, they can look different.
The concept was, this is what we saw back in 2018, 19. Yeah. People will be spending more of their time online. Yeah. They will be spending more of their time in these virtual spaces. Yeah. And there will be a need to dress your avatar. Yeah. And that should be potentially with brands and designers that you know and have an affiliation with, or potentially it could be something completely fantastical. Now, if I'm having this conversation, I would not be having this with a pair of bat wings and a crown. I would look.
Why not?
Well, I potentially could be, but I think it would be distracting for things. But if I was running around a different metaverse or at a party or at a concert, then I could be doing that. Well, so I think there's different places.
I also think there's, just to kind of round this off, I also think there's an interesting, what I've started to see is some of these designs in the digital realm are parlaying back into the analog realm. Yeah. So you're seeing, especially in fashion, right, you always have these wacky things that go on, but I've seen it with cosmetics, and that I think to me is really interesting, is the fact it's feeding the imagination. It definitely is. There's absolutely an acceptance of more extreme. Yeah, so I can almost imagine us wandering around like we're in Star Wars, or I don't know. It's a bit difficult here in Hong Kong at the moment because nobody goes out anymore because you can't. We can see each other's eyes though. Yeah. So maybe what we'll do is, we could talk for a bit longer. Go on a lot longer. I think a lot longer. So let's take some questions from the floor. It's been really good talking to you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Let's see. We've got some. So we're going to go into the Q&A. I think the way that we're doing this is if you're on the Vimeo site, which can be linked from webwednesday.asia/interviews, or even in Facebook. There's a link in the text there. You'll be able to post some questions. So why don't I? Unlike Zoom, we're not going to have people shouting them out to you. That's fine. So bear with me as I'm going to have a look and see what we've got, unless any come to mind that might be worth, and we'll share them back into the audience. So let's have a quick look. Glasses on. Here we go. Any questions? Oh, here we go. We've only got one question. Where are they? Where are all the questions? Oh, sorry, we've got lots of questions. Okay. Okay. One from Chris Testigo, used to work for Philips in Singapore. He used to be a client of mine. He's also a keen photographer. He is based in Denmark somewhere. What limitations do you run into making digital garments available cross-platform, across different, you talked about interoperability, right? It's a big word in the industry. Yep. What are the challenges you face? They're all on different blockchains? What's the challenge? Not necessarily the blockchain. So it's more the so when it comes to wearables or skins or however you want to describe it, there isn't yet a token-related link. So, for example, we create the first version, high resolution, high definition, lots of detail, up to maybe 6 million polygons or triangles. And you're using Unreal? Mostly we're using CLO. Okay. Or Marvelous Designer, which come from the same family. But then there'll be different tools like Blender and Z-Ray and ZBrush, and there's all sorts of stuff that goes to making a beautiful... It's like a traditional garment design kind of software, isn't it? Well, it was 3D design, but it came out of the gaming industry. So it was a spin-off from a gaming design software. So we'll create with that for the beautiful product, the piece of art. And these hang, I haven't seen, do they hang on your body like they actually physically, does it look like a garment? They're as realistic as you can possibly get them. Okay. Then each of the metaverses or opportunities that there are will have
the theme parks, will have different versions. So whether they're running it on their proprietary thing, or whether they're using Unity, or even Ready Player Me, which is also Unity, potentially on Unreal Engine, or even when you talk about the voxelated things like Sandbox and the like. So what we need to do is we create versions of that product which are then compatible with each of those.
So you have to create separate...
Yeah, there's no algorithm, there's no immediate pipeline. You can't just export that.
There's no middleware.
No. We're working on it.
Okay.
We're developing our own pipelines, and maybe someone will do it, in which case we'll use them. But essentially, we have to then recreate each of those and essentially mint it within each of those different environments.
Doesn't that become really costly?
If most of those are now working on Polygon,
Okay.
so it's relatively low cost. There's a fee that you have to pay to be allowed into the marketplace, but we suck that up. So what we're doing is creating riggable, wearable versions, whether they be done as skins or as avatars as a whole for each of those. So it's wallet linked rather than token linked. So if you have our main BNV NFT in your wallet and you use the same wallet to enter each of these different spaces, then it will offer you to be able to wear
the different file,
the one that, which we've configured with that. So the question is, there's a lot of difficulties. And we're addressing them. And one of the commitments that we make to the brands that we work with is, as a new experience or a new metaverse comes on, we will work with them to be able to create the version that will allow them to go into that space. And we're in a lucky position because we haven't even touched on this, but one of our main investors is Animoca Brands from Hong Kong, who are obviously probably the single biggest investor in anything to do with blockchain gaming and crypto and metaverses and experiences. So that helps us a lot, that we're part of a wider family. So
and they make the introductions.
They can make the introductions. We can, it eases the conversation.
But then it sounds to me like it's a bit messy, right? That somebody has to come in and make this. It's a bit like, the internet, right? Somebody's got to come in and create HTML or some browser that's going to make you easy to move between these
And
words.
I believe that will come. It's not going to be us to develop that. That's definitely the tech people.
Let's take what's another question out there? I hope that answered your questions there, Chris. Any more? We've talked about the software. I can't see any more questions in my little thing here. So maybe we can have a quick fiddle. Let's see. There we go. They're appearing here. We talked about the tools, right? You've mentioned.
Yep.
Right? Here we go. Day Tripper. Who is this?
He's one of our OGs.
One of your OGs. Would the BNV token, if he's an OG, he doesn't even know the name, Fash, integrate in layer 1 solutions such as FTM, AVAX, and Matic? Aren't they all crashing?
Well, yeah.
Actually, AVAX is doing okay. So, yeah.
Avalanche.
Avalanche, there you go.
Potentially, yes, in the long run. That's the intention. It would be but essentially the Fash coin is more the currency of fashion within the digital economy. So yes, at some point it will have usage across different platforms and different protocols. Thank you, Day Tripper.
Okay, here's an interesting one. Oh no, there's more like comments. You've got a lot of admirers.
Thank you. Looks good.
It's anonymous. I'm Mikolo. He's not anonymous. From the Philippines. One of your holders of G. Excited for the future.
Thank you, Miklo.
Okay. Let's see what other questions do we have. They're all coming from one person. Okay. Chris has another interesting question, which is sentiment, right? Negative sentiment around NFTs. That's probably why you're calling it tokens. But do you see, it's it's a very evolving world, right? You're kind of right in front of it, right? In the moment, it seems to me the sentiment in this particular industry, because it's got so much money involved, it can just kind of bounce off walls, right? Yeah. It's worse than when social media first took off, everybody loved each other, then they started hating each other, and they started wanting to attack each other, and then it kind of came into that human nature came into play. Where do you see the sentiment? The problem that I find with the NFT world is it's often supported by communities. They're all on Discord and it's anonymous led. So therefore, when you're anonymous, it's so easy to bitch people. It's so easy to just go out. So where do you see the sentiment around the NFT and how that's going to affect?
A lot of people that got into NFTs
Yeah.
in the last year have been purely speculative. They want to make money. We have
Yeah.
people come into our Discord, and if they'll ask blunt, direct questions, anonymously, like you say, why would I buy this if I can't double my money overnight? And it's always like, bye-bye, thank you.
Yeah.
We're not building things around hype and
Yeah.
speculation. We're building things about real utility. And these guys that have commented,
Yeah.
the Daytripper and Miklos, they're part of our Discord community.
Okay.
They're really supportive. They get it. They know
Yeah.
that it's a long journey, and we're doing everything right. Because one of the things that we are doing is completely transparent. You know, you look at a lot of projects that have come out, you don't really know who's behind it. It's a PFP
Are
picture.
you all doxed? They all know who you are? and-
Everybody that's involved in the business, their profile, their bio, and their avatar.
Yeah.
It's not a true picture because we're in keeping with it. Is
Yeah.
up there. We're not
Yeah.
trying to hide. We've got too much to lose.
Yeah.
We've got our reputations of being around this fashion industry for so long are too valuable to do anything that's stupid. So we are very focused on building a real business. And
But
a
you also
real
raised
opportunity.
money the traditional way, right? You raised $4 million US or whatever.
Correct.
But this is outside of tokens. You did
Yep,
it
yeah, yeah.
as a pure, here's some shares, give me some money type
Correct.
thing, right?
Yep.
And do you think that helps, or is that should you have not gone the DAO route? Should you have not been more Daoist about it?
It was people were throwing money at us
Yeah.
when they knew what we were doing
Yeah.
and they understood it, and when we had conversations and explained this is what we're going to do and this is who we are. Then was like, yes, we want to be a part of that. We can see the value. None of my investors so far have asked me for a balance sheet or a P&L or a sales projection or anything like that. They know that they're in this for a long run.
Yeah.
And
Well, you have to be given where it is now, right? But I think- Yeah, let's take another question. Do you have an? Let's see. Your man Daytripper has got a lot of questions. Let's see. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Let's see. Maybe not.
Okay.
Well, Daytripper's got a bit of a techie question, but I guess I can ask it. He says that the open metaverse already exists within the layer 1 blockchain. And with ReadyPlayMe integration, how will BNV evolve to stay? That sounds kind of... That's like an investor asking you, mate, what's your...
Come on,
how are you
Daytripper.
gonna-"
What's this
Yeah,
all
so
about?
let's get back to... I want to know a bit more about the Web3. Let's just do a little bit more dig into the Web3 thing, deep dive. I've heard this expression double click, which I think is fucking horrible. So just deep dive into the Web3 thing. Where do you see that going in terms of your meaning? Because you told me you have a particular perspective about, and it's about ownership of assets, right?
Yeah.
Beyond NFTs and things. Where do you see, because this to me sounds like it has potential to really change things, right? The problem with technology, and I've been through various versions of it, everybody always believes it's going to change everything. The internet, social media, e-commerce, and now this supposed Web3 thing. What do you see as the kind of core of it?
It's down to ownership of digital assets, ownership of your identity, ownership of yourself.
Yeah.
I see that as being the most intrinsic part of Web3, and that what gets built around that concept
Yeah.
is going to be created by smaller companies and individuals, and maybe even the bigger ones if they embrace it properly. But it has to be done with the foundational understanding that the consumer is now a part of it. It's not something you just sell. There's an engagement level. You need to be talking to those people and reacting to them as well, and incentivizing and rewarding them because they're going to build your business for you. And if you extrapolate that to the full extent of a DAO, they're building their own business because if they're integral to the DAO itself, so if their coin it has a governance element to it and it's driving the economy, our job will be done. We sit back because the community is doing the work for you. And I used this example before. In the current world, most companies will have a sales and marketing department, and their job is to take the content, the story, the narratives, the products, and create the things and push them out, whether that be through social media or print advertising or whatever the channels are. But it's a one-way channel. You're just pushing this information out so that in the hope that your customer is going to like what you've presented to them, product and advertising, and then, oh, that's cool, I like that, I'm going to buy into that. That's what it's all channeled towards. But in this Web3, you can be talking to that consumer directly about things that they would like, services that they would like, products that you would like. And because you're creating them digitally, at least from our perspective, we can give that to them. We could still have to manage the brand DNA, or however people want to configure it. But essentially, we can be way more responsive and rewarding those people
on a one-on-one basis, because it's always been the promise, right?
Well,
it's a personalized.
I'm not saying it should be one-on-one, but that's the principle of how a DAO kicks in. Because if you're engaged in the DAO, if you're a member of that DAO, whether you are a 1 million right holder voter or a 1 right holder voter, you have the ability to influence what the business is and how people react to it. So I think it's a very high level conversation, but I do think that will become more and more important. It's still going to be small for a long, long time. It's very idealistic, and it's a bit Nirvana-esque. It's the dream. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful if we all lived together and everybody loved each other and there wasn't rampant capitalism in its worst possible. It's going to be a mix of those things, but I do think that's what I'd like to see it become.
Excellent. Well, I think we don't have any more questions, but it's been a joy talking to you. Oh, we have one more? Oh, we do? We have one more. Let's come in. Let's see.
Not too technical, I guess.
No, it's Ray, a guy I know. He's saying, I guess it's a valid question. A lot of the talk about the metaverse is the access to it, right? His question is, given the high cost of VR hardware, what do you think will be the route to mass adoption of the metaverse?
Yeah, I think it will be. Well,
there's going to be Apple.
Metaverse is, it's like you say, it's already there. You can get it through a phone, you can get it through a browser, you can get it through a console. There are elements of it that will exist, and they will become more and more connected and more together. I think when you're talking about sort of an immersive experience, then it will be probably that mixed reality, sort of AR and things mixed together. So nobody's going to be walking around wearing a massive VR headset.
Your kit, you don't necessarily need an immersive headset.
No.
What I've seen of the stuff that you're producing, right, is it's very visual, obviously, but what difference will it make? I guess if I'm kind of really in it, it will make a difference.
All right, I'm going to give you a bit of an exclusive here because we're not really talking about this. But the next iteration, or the next major iteration of the BNV.me website will be immersive. So as a user, you will literally arrive at the URL in your browser, as you would normally, but you will come in and immediately take the persona of your avatar. And you will be navigating around the website in an immersive 3D experience. So instead of clicking...
Without VR?
Yeah, it'll just be on a browser.
Okay.
So instead of going and clicking on news, showroom, marketplace, you'll be able to navigate through to that space. If you own some of our tokens, you'll be able to wear those as you navigate through our space.
Okay, interesting.
If you are a G holder, you will be able to go through doors which were not available to your average visitor. You will be able to access it. So this is what you talk about, an immersive experience. So people are coming in a traditional web browser, but having a 3D immersive experience to move around within that space. That's on our roadmap. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
6 months.
That in itself sounds quite interesting, right?
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, because you're not forcing people to have to be, start up with goggles or whatever. But the idea of it also makes me think. I wonder if the browser itself goes from being a flat thing to why does it have to be flat? Maybe the screen turns, right?
Yeah.
We've had Samsung making curved. Remember those curved phones they're all talking about?
Yeah, well you can buy those large
phone.
wrapped monitors now.
Which give you that experience. But that's an interesting one. So not necessarily VR goggles, you're saying?
No.
No.
The VR goggles will be an important part of it. However, I mean, technology will work in a Moore's law way. Eventually, you'll get down to something which is relatively accessible. It's not going to be third world accessible, that's for sure. But the Oculus Rift is what, 3,000 Hong Kong currently.
Because the other angle that I've seen is that I read somewhere that Apple are basically signing up various patents for the AirPods is sound, right? Because in these worlds that you're talking about, you usually have a soundtrack, right? But that soundtrack is, clothes have noise, right? They rustle, they whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, the sound element, right? Because obviously, at the moment, the focus is very visual and things moving, but there's obviously the sound. I mean, fashion always is about sound, but like just the sound of your chains, your whatever. Everything has this.
If you've got a VR headset on, the sound is spatial.
Yeah.
As people move around, you will feel that move. You don't get that.
So you don't get it with the garments they're wearing, though, right? There's no sound. Are you introducing sound elements?
You've put a new project on the table for us.
Yeah, sound and smell. I want smell. I think that's really important. I read a really interesting article about this. It was on Bloomberg or something. This designer who basically designed clothes. She was doing it slightly differently. She was bringing the metaverse or emotions into the clothes, so the clothes would change shape depending on your heartbeat or whether you're sweating or your facial expressions. And that to me was really fascinating because it was taking very static garments and giving them life. So it was kind of bringing it the other way, right? You're not disappearing in something else, it's bringing it back.
We do have a small group of people that are just, once a week we have a call and literally brainstorm the weird stuff. What about this? Somebody saw something
give me some
like this.
Examples
Well, no, because I wouldn't going to give anything away. But certainly, it all comes down to how do we present product in different ways? How do we allow people to customize product? How can we use AI to give people an individual experience relative to fashion? So these are just things that we have constantly. This is the beauty of what we're talking about. We make time in our week to actually have these sessions where we think about what might be cool in 4 or 5 years' time. And then should we start working towards that now? Should we start developing something? And that's the beauty about being in this space is you can get up every morning and you open your phone or your browser and you go, oh, wow, that's cool. I never thought of that.
I'm surprised you didn't say put your goggles on.
Well, I do have a complete first hour of
goggles. I think I need to put some beer goggles on.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's 6 o'clock.
Yeah, we don't have. Do we have any more? Or we good to go?
And you can just take a look at the other ones available, but decide.
Let's have a quick look, see if there's got any more questions that come in here. I think. Cheeky fucker. Somebody said, "How come 2 old-fashioned geezers like to talk about fashion?" They said the word fashion twice.
There we go.
Old-fashioned is fashion.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question.
And that's cool.
Should you not be like a 20-year-old sitting in front of me telling me?
I'd love to, and
And you have them in your team.
We have them in our team, and we're constantly, bringing new people on, and I would be more than happy to bring them into these conversations. So absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing that I am curious about is, what about the existing, these big games, right? The big game, the Riot games, the Tencents. They have huge communities. They have huge people who are used to going into these virtual worlds, and they've got their avatars. They're paying money to get weapons and stuff. Is that not a kind of community that's already ready to engage, or are they so committed to the gaming world that it's so foreign to them, the idea of...
You would think that they would be, but the reality is at the moment, at least, that most people in those spheres are pretty anti-NFTs. Yeah. They see it as being a bit of a scam to get more money out. They've already paid for the game. They've already paid for these extras. And don't get me wrong, I think the way those businesses have grown and developed and are run is phenomenal. Yeah. What they've created, because the gameplay is the addictive part. The game comes first. And I think that's one of the weaknesses that's going on at the moment, because everybody's talking about play to earn being the transition thing, because that blockchain allows that to happen. But unless the gaming experience is addictive or compelling, that people want to come back, it's a hard sell. And I do think there's a disconnect slightly between those AAA games and the gaming companies that are creating those and what's sort of currently available as a play-to-earn concept. They're chalk and cheese at the moment. And so when these things start to merge, and it's going to happen when these guys come over to this side, then I can see it being really compelling.
But I mean, I think that the play-to-earn crowd, like Axie Infinity, right, which are on the way down, is that they, you know, the incentive to join these games is not to have fun.
No, it was just time.
Right.
Spend your time doing this particular thing. Like I say,
whereas if you look at anybody who's, I'm going to have friends at Riot Games who, you know, if you look at the resources and the talent, the game designers, the graphics, it takes truckloads of talent to create these environments.
Yep.
So how are you going to parlay that into that kind of secret website that you're about to launch? How's that? Are you putting a game mindset on in order to, or is it, because you're talking about people incentivizing people to open doors, go through things. I mean, there's a kind of discovery.
There's a gamification angle to it, but it's not about shooting people or bashing zombies, you know, because most games are either sports related or death and destruction, you know. And
there's a few where you build stuff, SimCity,
yeah, there's SimCity,
and you do nice things.
Yeah, so I think, you know, we want to be more in that SimCity world, which is a bit more social and a bit more collaborative and a bit more, you know.
And I guess the last question,
and it has a connection to fashion.
Yeah, last question. We were in Hong Kong, right? So what about our cousins across the border? How do you? I mean, you know, you're in a world where the metaverse is not going to be, you know, it's still going to be a great firewall of China for the metaverse. In fact, they've already built one. So it's its own blockchain. They're not allowing NFT kind of from a, you know, buying and selling, trading them. But so where do you see, is that an area that you're looking at? Is it across the border? No,
not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
No, it's, I mean, and because what they're saying is, no state-sanctioned blockchains and no trading. Yeah. So it sort of goes against the whole concept of
But it's still ownership though, right?
It's ownership, yeah, absolutely. But it's not something where we would want to spend too much time on at the moment.
Yeah, so your focus would be where? New York, London? Is it the traditional fashion?
I mean, the hubs that we're finding for anything to do with crypto and NFTs is definitely New York, Miami, Lisbon, and Paris. Okay. So those are the
Not many in Asia?
Hong Kong is great. There's a lot obviously going on here. Singapore, yes. I mean, they've changed their tone a little bit towards crypto over the last year because they don't want to see it being speculative. Yeah. But they have just announced, I think today, the next edition of their blockchain week. So,
so finally, I guess we've got where do you want people to come and find you?
BNV.me.
BNV.me. Why did you choose me for Metaverse?
No, it wasn't. Because it was, that was a brand new vision, me. Yeah, that was where it came from.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
And it was the shortest acronym I could get with the domain name.
It's good for the chat.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye. Nice seeing you all. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.